All right. The interview is being conducted for the Veterans History Project for the Library of Congress. The veteran's name is Raven Zieveren. They were born November 16th, 1946. They served in the Navy during the Cold War. They achieved the rank of technician. We are recording this on March 19th, 2014. I am John Richter, and I'm conducting the interview. No relation. Thank you very much for sitting down with me today. I appreciate it.
You're quite welcome.
So, Mr. Zieveren, what was childhood like for you? You said you grew up in the Charlotte area?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Charlotte.
Okay.
I had, my dad was a letter carrier or worked for the post office and retired from there. My mom was a housewife, and I had two brothers and two sisters. I was the fourth of five children.
Okay. And growing up, did you have any relatives in the military? Or?
My dad served in World War II. When he got drafted, he had three children, so he didn't see, quote, battle, but he did serve over in France. I did have a grandfather that retired from the Navy.
Okay. And what got you involved in the Navy? Was it your family, or did you drafted, or how?
I was in the process of being drafted by the Army, and I did not desire to go to Vietnam and shoot guns, so I volunteered for the Navy.
Understandable. Did you join the Navy out of high school, or did you go to college?
I worked 1 year after high school, then joined the Navy.
Okay. What was basic training like for you while you were? Did you get shipped off anywhere for basic training? Or
I went to Great Lakes Training Center, which is somewhere between Chicago and Milwaukee. And I really don't remember that much,
okay,
other than marching and standing a few watches.
Okay. Now, after basic training, were you sent to, did you?
I was, my basic training, I volunteered for submarines. They sent me to sub school in New London, Connecticut for about 4 months, and in January of '67, I got assigned to the USS Lapon in pre-commissioning in Newport News Shipyard.
Okay, cool. Now, what was life like on the submarine for you?
Well, for the first 6-7 months, the boat was in the process of being built, and you couldn't live on it, so we had facilities off-site that we went to. Once we got on board, the bunks were rather small. We called them coffin corners because they resembled a coffin. There was a very limited space for your personal articles, and we were one big happy family.
Would you say, are you still friends with people that you
We have reunions every 2 years. Our last one was this past June out in Tucson, Arizona. And yes, I'm still friends with a good many of the crew members that were there when I was.
Awesome.
In fact, my best friend lives up in Baltimore, Maryland.
Awesome. That's really awesome. Now, once the sub was built and you were on board, what was daily life like, especially while you were out at sea? Was it pretty tense, or was it fairly relaxed?
Daily life consisted of 18-hour days versus a 24-hour day as you know it. We'd stand watches for 6 hours and be off for 12. And then you start to cycle back over again. There were times where things were tense depending on where we were located. We spent a great deal of time above the Arctic Circle in places where people don't mention.
Exactly. Now, I'm guessing since you were serving during the Cold War, was there a lot of, I guess, like drills and preparations and things of that nature all the time, or was it,
Initially, as the boat was a new boat, the captain would put us through the necessary drills to prepare us for battle. We never saw battle, but we were prepared.
Gladly.
And same thing with damage control
Okay.
type activities, yes.
Okay. Now you said you were a technician on the boat.
I was a sonar technician,
Sonar technician.
second class.
Okay. What I guess what were the kind of the jobs or that entailed?
Sonar was basically the eyes and ears of the ship when we were submerged. We would listen for other sounds out in the water. Specifically, we were trained to pick up, I guess, in today's nomenclature, be the bad guys.
Now, did you have any times, especially while you were working, where you had, I guess you'd say, false alarms or any memorable instances while you were working?
There were a couple occasions where we had to skedaddle from where we were at flank speed. There were a couple of reports of torpedoes in the water.
Oh, wow.
We didn't know whether they were real or dummy torpedoes.
Interesting. I'm guessing those moments especially were probably the most tense of being underwater.
Yes.
Now, how long were you out at sea while you were?
We'd go out I went on 3 different patrols, and each patrol lasted upwards to 60 days.
60
we were
days?
submerged the whole time.
Oh, wow. Now, was it fairly, I guess you said you'd go on these patrols. Would you come back and have some time on land for a certain amount of time?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And fix things that broke, got things fixed, resupply. Over a period of 2 years, we went on three patrols.
Okay. Now, how was life adjusting, especially when you'd come back from being underwater for over a month at a time, coming back and obviously there's sunlight all of a sudden and just being back on the 24-hour schedule instead of the 18-hour schedule.
There was some adjustment to that. Being a sailor normally and single, the first thing that we hit was the bars. And it didn't take long to readjust.
That's good. Next question from here. When you were out at sea, you said you would be submerged the entire time?
Yes, for the most part, yeah.
Would you, if you did ever come up, would they, I guess, allow you to just poke your head out and be, where are we now?
There were occasions where we were welcome into the control room and we would have what's called periscope liberty.
Okay.
We'd be at periscope depth with a periscope up and you could look out the
Okay.
periscope to see that, hey, the Earth is still there.
I'm guessing, especially if you were above the Arctic Circle, it was probably just a lot of water and a lot of ice as well.
Yeah.
Now, would you say that your experiences, especially in the submarine, were positive or just,
Most of the experiences were extremely positive. It geared me for having a very structured life. It made me understand that you had to plan, you had to be prepared, and you had to have backup plans.
Mm-hmm. Now, while you were on your off time, I guess on the ship, how did you pass the time, with your fellow shipmates?
Well, first of all, you didn't have free time.
Okay.
If you were not qualified. Every submariner has to be qualified on that particular boat. And qualifications is a 6 to 9 month process. And what you've got to learn is every valve on board the ship and what that valve does. You've got to be able to handle yourself in an emergency. You've got to understand the ins and outs of all the machinery on a submarine.
Interesting.
There was, an exemption from that. Since it was a nuclear submarine, you had to know everything back in the nuclear plant and then engineering plants, but you were not allowed to touch any of those
Interesting.
valves.
Unless in case something were to go wrong.
No, not even then.
Oh, wow.
Not even then.
You
You can do the forward part.
Okay.
the control room, the torpedo room, the auxiliary room, but you weren't allowed to turn anything in regards to
Interesting.
propulsion
Interesting.
in the reactor.
Now, how many crew members did you have on board?
We had a crew, I think it was 95 men and 12 officers.
Okay, so a little over 100 men.
Yep, 107.
And how big was the sub?
My
Put it in perspective.
my boat was, I think, about 287 feet long
Okay,
and about 34 feet wide.
so it was pretty packed down there.
Yes, it was.
Did you get cabin fever with people
No.
at times, or was
No. The Navy does, the submarine service does a very good job of eliminating people who have claustrophobia.
it interesting? Okay. Now, I guess while you were down there, how was, I guess, did you, with your crewmates, was there like an interaction of just almost like a team atmosphere, or was it very much a, one common goal, one common mission, or?
Well, obviously, the sub had its mission, and we were all striving for that. But we all had different jobs
Okay.
to achieve that mission.
Okay. Now, when did you did the three missions that you discussed?
Patrols.
Patrols. Sorry.
That's all right.
And afterwards, did you continue to work with the Navy, or did you?
I got out of the Navy in April of 1970.
1970.
I got off, I served on the lay pond for the first 3 years from January of 67 to January 70. They transferred me to another submarine in the Philadelphia shipyard that was being overhauled, and an old World War II sub, and it was completely empty when I went aboard. And in April of that, 4 months later, I
Okay.
was
And
mustered out.
And would you say that life after the Navy did you benefit especially from being in the Navy afterwards?
Oh yes. It made me realize the need for an education, a college degree. My grades in high school were not very good. I couldn't get into a college.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got out, I realized if I'm going to make it in this world, I need to get a degree. I went to Central Piedmont for 2 years. That's a community college in Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
And then transferred to UNC Charlotte and got my 4-year degree up there.
Okay, cool. And what, if you don't mind me asking, after the Navy and after college, what did you do afterwards?
I went to work for Belk Incorporated as an applications programmer to start with, and from there I progressed up, and I worked there for 27 and a half years and retired from there back in 2003 when they outsourced me to IBM. And in that process I held several positions, from applications programmer to systems programmer to managers of technical analysis, and then as director or acting director of operations.
Okay. Now, obviously, over 40 years removed from the sub, do you miss the experience down there?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Would you go on another?
I would love to go on
Really?
another one. Yep.
Okay. Have you ever? I mean, would you consider yourself still very interested in, I guess, the open water and
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you do any sailing or boat work or anything like
No, but we do have a place down at the beach, and I just enjoy watching the ocean.
that? Look out there, and maybe there's a submarine out there. So.
No. So.
If you don't mind me asking, do you mind giving me a little bit of detail about your vest and the patches you have on your
Okay.
vest?
I'm a member of a veterans group, submarine veterans group called United States Submarine Veterans Incorporated. I'm a member of a base here in Fort Mill called the Carolina Piedmont Base, and I think that's what that patch right there is.
All right.
This patch right here is my ship's patch from USS Lapon.
Okay. And what is secret secret and hard or secret at heart?
Latin.
Okay.
Oh, I don't remember. I
Oh,
like to
it's
say
okay.
it's seek and destroy.
Oh,
but it's
okay.
really I forget what the
No, it's fine.
motto is. These other patches are just 50th anniversary of USS VI. I did a good thing, so I got an attaboy. I think this is the Arctic Circle one.
Okay.
Doesn't it say Arctic Circle? I can't.
It says the Cold War Games.
Oh, okay, Cold War. And I've got some on the back.
Okay.
And
Cool.
These are my dolphins. When you get qualified, the captain pins dolphins on your uniform for you.
Okay.
First dolphins. And everybody gets the good conduct in the national defense. This is my meritorious unit citation with the Bronze Star.
Okay.
And that's the presidential unit citation.
Awesome. Awesome. It's a nice little vest of, collection of everything right there.
Thank you.
No problem. What would you suggest, say for instance you met somebody who was, a youth looking to potentially go into the Navy or potentially working on subs as well. What would your advice be to them, or what would you say to them moving forward?
Go for it and get on a fast attack versus a boomer.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm guessing you were on fast attack
Yes, I
yourself.
was. Yeah.
What is there a major difference between the two?
Tremendous. The boomers, fleet ballistic submarines, they're the ones that fire the mid-nuclear warheads.
Okay.
And they have served an extremely important role in our defense.
Mm-hmm.
But they have to play chicken a lot.
Okay.
And when they go out, they have an area where they patrol, and if they hear anything out there, surface contact or subsurface, they got to turn around and go in the opposite direction.
Interesting. So they're kind of almost like sitting ducks in the middle of the
Well,
water.
they're trying to prevent being a sitting duck.
Okay.
Where on a fast attack,
You can kind of make your own maneuvers and go about how
you go after it.
Okay, interesting.
Go after it.
Now, did you work on any of the big boomers yourself?
No.
Okay.
No, just fast attack.
Okay. Cool. And I guess are those really the only two types of subs
Today there
today?
is, yeah, in
Okay.
the U.S. Navy.
in the
Yes.
U.S. Navy?
Yeah.
All right. Now, while you were on board your sub, I guess what was kind of the range of depth that you would work at, if that's a applicable question?
Normally anywhere from periscope depth, which would be about 58 to 60 feet,
Okay.
down to 400, 500 feet.
Okay. Wow.
It could go a lot further than that.
But hopefully you wouldn't have to push it that far.
I have.
You have.
In fact, when we went on alpha trials, which is the first sea trials for a new submarine, I was at the diving planes when we took it down to test depth.
Interesting. Awesome.
Yep.
So I guess you feel like the Glen Pond is kind of your baby in a way.
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't mind, is it still in service? Is it?
It was commissioned in December '67 and decommissioned in 1992.
Okay.
It had a 25-year lifespan.
Oh wow, nice.
And that's probably anywhere from 25 to 30 years for most of the nuclear power boats is their life.
Okay. And is it still in existence, or did they?
When you decommission a nuclear submarine, it goes to Bremerton, Washington, and there they tear it down, they recover the reactor and dispose of the reactor and the waste in whatever manner they do.
Interesting.
And the rest of it is chopped up. Fortunately for us, the upper part of it, what's called the sail, was saved, and that's on display in Springfield, Missouri at American Legion Post.
Interesting. That's really
It
cool.
got moved over there in 2005. We had a big dedication for it.
That is really cool. So it's kind of a place that, as crew members, you can kind of go back
Yeah,
and.
we've had a couple of reunions there.
Oh, really? Awesome. Now, I guess what are some of your fondest memories, especially being while working on the sub? What are some of the, I guess, if there are some moments in time that just stick out as things that are good or funny that bring a smile?
Yeah, there are a lot of good memories, and I don't remember the bad. There are some I know. if there wasn't, I'd retired in the Navy. So, I just used to love to have the midnight to 6 a.m. watch and go down to the galley about 4:30, 5 o'clock when the cook was bringing the cinnamon rolls out of the galley out of the oven and getting a hot cinnamon roll. And
Was the food pretty good for
the
for
food
some?
was outstanding. It was a very long tradition that all the food in the submarine is top notch, mainly because the officers have to eat the same food as the enlisted men.
Okay, interesting.
Okay, on surface craft, the officers have their own galley, their own cooks, and their own food.
Interesting.
It's not like that on a submarine.
Yeah,
You
everybody.
have one galley, one set of cook for everybody.
Now, would everybody out of the crew of 100 eat about the same time, or would you kind of have shifts?
We have 3 shifts: the
Okay.
oncoming watch, the off-coming watch, and the
Okay.
third set of people who.
So you like the cinnamon rolls? Was there anything else on the ship that was just fantastic all the time?
Well, we have most nights a movie every night.
Okay.
We'd have to load up with 60 to 70 movies before we go out, and I'm not talking about one of these little CDs
Uh-huh.
or DVDs
Oh,
that
just
you have now.
big reels.
Big reels. So that was enjoyable. I got qualified early, so most of my time after the boat was commissioned, I was qualified. So when I had time off, I could do whatever I want: sleep, eat, play cards. When I was on watch, I sit in a room and listen and notify the officer of the deck when we had contacts and what they were doing and where they were going.
Okay. Now, say for instance, a new guy walks onto your ship. What card game are you going to beat him at?
Well, we played a lot of pinochle and poker.
Okay. All right. So I don't want to play you in poker then.
You don't want to play poker.
Now, I guess when you have your reunions, is it just kind of just recollecting? Is it do you have pictures or anything?
Sometimes we do, but it's more or less just fellowship.
Okay.
Getting caught up on what shipmates have been doing the previous 2 years. Our last reunion was sparsely attended. I think we only had about 70 shipmates attend, and that's over a course of 25 years. We've had a few pass on, and that number is growing as we get older. So
And that's why we're doing this, is to keep those stories alive.
Good.
It's the biggest thing.
Good.
Do you, thinking of questions here. Now, after you got out of the Navy, you said you were single your whole time through. Do you find that to be a blessing that you were single the whole time you were, especially out at sea?
it was an advantage and disadvantage.
Okay.
It worked both ways. I remember, times coming into port after being out for 60 days, and there was nobody there for me.
Understandable.
And it was very discouraging. But it was good that I didn't have a spouse or somebody waiting 60 days, and because you couldn't communicate. There was no communications.
You were just kind of out there on your
My
own?
parents could have died, and I may never know
wow.
until I got back in.
Wow.
Or my girlfriend. It was up to the captain's discretion.
Okay.
He'd get a message saying that of the emergency and what it was, and it'd be up to him whether he would let me know.
Interesting.
And it was that way with everybody.
Okay. I'm guessing, as a whole, there was very little communication back and forth between the sub, just because of your patrol and what you were trying to do at the same time.
They would come up routinely once a day and get message traffic.
Okay.
Radio traffic.
Interesting.
Okay. And there was another way they could contact us if they need to get a hold of us quickly due to national emergency.
Okay. And you said for the most part you were working above the Arctic Circle. Were there any other place? I mean, I know you don't have to go too far in, I mean, was it just mainly above the Arctic Circle, or did you just kind of end
Well,
up?
one of our patrols was, we started off close up there and we tracked a Soviet
Really?
ballistic submarine for 47 days.
Oh wow.
It's all documented in Blind Man's Bluff.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I did not realize there was a book written about it. I might have to read that up myself.
Okay, I brought a copy for you to read.
Oh well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. What I guess if you, I know you can't probably divulge too much about it, but for you and the course of that 47 days, was it a pretty white knuckled experience? Or?
No, I wouldn't say white knuckle. We did lose him a couple of times, but we picked him back up.
Interesting.
I mean, just
It's kind of a game of chicken almost.
well, not chicken, but you're just trailing him, and you don't want him to know you were there, and he didn't.
Interesting.
So.
Wow. That seems so cool. It's just kind of it's almost like the stalking sniper in the jungle kind of idea.
Certainly.
Wow, that is really interesting. And I'm guessing obviously since World War III never happened with the Cold War, it was kind of a very much just kind of we're keeping eyes on you and making sure you don't do anything that's out of the ordinary or anything
That
like
is correct.
that. Okay.
We kept a fire control solution on him. We kept, in case he opened his outer doors for his missile launch.
Yeah, would that be something you would detect by sonar, just the
Yes.
sounds coming through?
Yes.
Okay. And I guess how many were you like trained to listen for distinct sounds? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Our more senior people probably knew what the sounds were.
okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So I guess say you're sitting at your
Console.
your console. Is it just kind of a big screen, or how are
It's a
you?
big circular tube
Okay.
with degrees from 0 to 360 all the way around, and it would indicate a sound, and you would listen to it and determine whether it's biological being a whale or a shrimp or whatever, or a contact being either surface or subsurface contact. And you can tell that by hearing.
What was probably the most common sound that you would hear that wasn't obviously anything enemy or
Probably whales.
whales?
Yeah.
Did you become very good at tracking which kind of whales were?
No.
Yeah, there's just that's a whale.
Just a whale.
What I guess how many blips or how many sounds would you probably hear at the course of your post during the day, or was it pretty quiet, or
No, it's always out
constantly?
there. Yeah,
Really?
constant noise out there. Yeah.
even in the middle of the Arctic Circle?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It seemed.
I mean, there is wildlife up there.
No, I just I figured just it'd be very. It seems like it would be very quiet since there's so little actually seems to be going on up there. But that's quite interesting. Were there any times where you felt where you kind of were unsure of something and kind of had a moment of panic for a second, or was it pretty well laid out?
Well, for the most part, it's laid out very well. I mean, we did experience a fire in sonar one day, and that's one of the worst things you can have in the
Wow.
submarine is a fire. So, I had to rush out and yell it and run down and get a fire extinguisher, and then I had to get on some sound power phones, and when I did, I couldn't speak. I was so
Jacked up from
jacked up. Yeah.
Did the fire get put out
Yeah.
fairly quickly?
Yeah.
That's good.
Minor fire.
That's good.
So.
Any other? I guess were there any other close calls or anything that?
Not that I recall.
That's good.
45 years was a long time ago.
Understandable.
So,
So, and like you said, overall, your experience was really enjoyable.
was a good experience. I'd do it again.
Are you aware, or do you know how things have changed, especially within the subs?
I attended the commissioning of the USS North Carolina in 2008,
Okay.
which was a Virginia-class submarine fast attack, and I've seen a lot of different changes in that, the part of it that I could tour versus the type of boat, 637 class that I served on.
Do you think you could still pop down there and be like, all right,
No.
I'm gonna run this?
No.
Interesting.
All modern, you know, everything. You don't even have. They have computers that run everything, and you have people sitting at the console just interpreting the console for the most part. As far as I know, they don't even need to listen.
Interesting.
When I served, you had to
It was
listen.
constant hands-on.
Constant hands-on listening.
Interesting. I guess just one or two things to finish up. You know, thinking here for a second. If you would have joined the Navy again, would you have made sure to join the subgroup again? Would you have gone any other different route had
No.
you had a choice?
No.
Just subs are the things that you love.
It's an elite, and I don't want to sound elitist here, but I mean they're just great guys. Really, I mean, if you have a good captain that and a good chief of the boat, he's the highest ranking enlisted man that handles the enlisted folks for the most part. If you have those two, and then you can come out and have a great experience.
Good. Well, thank you very much, and
You're
thank you for
welcome
your
very much.
time. I enjoyed the interview.
Okay,
All right, thanks.
you're welcome.